Hello, welcome to Better Business Podcast. My name is Alexei, and today I wanted to talk about my main business, YEWS Solutions, or a business otherwise known as YEWS. That's how most people know it these days. I started this business back in 2007 doing web development because that's what I was doing at the time, and I saw an opportunity that a lot of people wanted to get more done than what the company that I was working for was providing at the time. They wanted additional web pages done, websites, edits, and it was mainly all HTML back then. There's not a lot of cool stuff like WordPress or anything back then. I have been working for that company for probably about 3 years, and it really gave me a good understanding of digital marketing. Now, this is the time when Google was just starting to appear in Australia, and I found that things like Google Ads were actually quite powerful for businesses to, get traction, get inquiries, and potentially get competitive advantage over their competitors. These days, digital marketing and search advertising is the norm. So YEWS Solutions, I really thought that naming a business, describing what the business was actually doing, taking the hassle out of the whole web thing, which was a bit bigger, headache to a lot of people, was a great name. Now, progressing into about 2009, I found out that a lot of people didn't just want a website. They wanted to do traffic driving, and they wanted to basically get exposure. So we started focusing on that. We started doing more of Google Ads, SEO, looking into all this new things like Facebook that sort of just appeared out of nowhere. And we found that people were still not happy with the whole thing. They wanted to get conversions. They wanted to get the results. Well, it's obvious these days to look at a situation like that. But when you're sort of starting out and you look at things very literally, hey, someone wants a website, you build them a website. Someone wants traffic, you get them traffic. You don't really understand the end result. So around 2011-12, I started looking into things more specifically from the perspective of outcome. So we sort of transitioned into that results agency mode, which is what we consider ourselves today, where we started focusing specifically on results. Now, what that means is that a lot of people, when they come to you, oftentimes they'll be saying, hey, I want to do SEO or Google Ads or, Facebook, whatever. And when you start challenging the whole thing, you quickly find out that people are just really after the results. And oftentimes they really don't know exactly what's going to work best for them. And you just have to really cut through all that, conversation to get straight to the point. Because a lot of the time people tell you things like, I want to rank for, roofing company Brisbane, for example. And if you rank for a keyword like that, oftentimes that doesn't quite align with the results that you'd be getting. Like a lot of people may be searching that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the best keyword for you to get, inquiries. So there's actually more to it. And ranking for every single keyword is obviously not an option. So this is where Google Ads came in. Anyway, long story short, we basically tailored specifically around the results. And we're able to, build quite a portfolio of customers across lead generation, where people want to get phone calls and inquiries via email, as well as sales for their online stores and so on and so on. We also found that, other areas of business, like, integrating various platforms, making sure they talk to one another, sending out email blasts, helping people with CRMs and integration was really, quite a problem. So we actually started looking into things like that because of my technical background and a few of the guys who work for me. That was really quite an easy thing for us. So that's in a nutshell, YEWS Solutions, or YEWS, as my main business. Everyone knows it is YEWS, and personally, I think if I look back and look into the actual name itself, we probably should have called it something short and sharp. But it's a little bit too late now when you've built up this whole authority specifically around this subject, and that's how most of our customers know us. It's short and simple, and I think in Australia everyone appreciates something short. Getting people to spell out something long doesn't quite work. How I ended up in this whole digital marketing game was on the back of my uni degree. I studied at QUT. I jumped through just about every single major. I went through software development, networking, data systems, and so on and so on. I basically was getting close to my final year, and I found that I needed to do something in order to graduate. And they basically came up with this new major, which was e-commerce, which pretty much combined all the subjects that I'd done. I had to do one project, which I did over summer, and I was able to graduate with Bachelor's of Information Technology, majoring in e-commerce. Now, what that means back in 2004 is pretty much you'd be building a website using HTML. You'd be, creating your own databases from scratch. For those of you who are technical, probably doesn't mean very much, but it's basically writing everything from scratch. And, things like security, being found in Google and so on were not even a problem back then because things didn't really work that way. In fact, out of a 500 people audience, when our lecturer asked who's bought anything online, maybe 2 or 3 people put up their hands. I think right now, if anyone at the age of about 19 or 20 would be asked the same question, it'd be a very opposite effect if not 100% of people would put up their hands. So that's the background. And I guess when I started working with websites and putting together campaigns, it's always been about a trial and error, which in reality is what marketing is all about. And what happens is you build up this authority over time by doing a particular campaign enough times in order to understand what the potential problems are and how to sort of overcome that as well. So for me, that was quite interesting, and I was very appreciative of having a boss back at the time who was willing to spend money to experiment and try different things, and the rewards were quite good. And for me, initially, it was a little bit strange where someone would want to trial out 5 things and spend quite a lot of money to get one of those things working. It's a concept that a lot of people don't get. I found that that is actually the way forward for most entrepreneurs that are very successful, because in reality, you need to be ready to fail and not be afraid of that, because everything you try allows you to learn faster. And, if I was to sort of look at the whole university degree, let's say 3-4 years you spend at a university, spend all this money. If you were to spend all this money experimenting on things and you knew exactly what you were experimenting with, I reckon you get that knowledge a lot faster. Anyway, that's a personal opinion, but you get the idea. In terms of the, inspiration for my business, I guess for the first 3 to 4 years, I pretty much worked as a freelancer. I didn't have any staff. I worked on the Gold Coast. I moved to Melbourne. I was able to travel overseas. And for me, a big inspiration was a book called 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Now, it was really more about working remotely, outsourcing things. And at the time, I didn't really know much about it, but I knew that working with a computer and having an internet connection is really all I needed in order to get things done. And with majority of my customers, I actually have never met them. So they're people on the other side of Australia running their business, living their life. And it was quite fascinating to actually put that into action. But once you start doing it, it sort of becomes the norm. I then found that, getting people that are better than you to do things was the next concept. And I learned that through a book called Who Not How a little bit later, but the concept itself sort of originated back then. I found that getting people who specialize in things that I didn't specialize in really allowed me to, first of all, deliver much better value to my customers, but at the same time, also get, inquiries coming through, because a lot of the time it'd be vice versa. So for me, some of my best customers came through people who perceived to be my competitors. And I think this is a bit of a missed opportunity for a lot of businesses, where they just try to dominate the entire market, whether they specialize in something or not, they try to dominate it. And you see that a lot with digital marketing companies. You make an inquiry about a website, and then they're able to do everything. And same with managed IT services. You ask somebody to fix your router, and next thing they're doing your website. I see this all the time, and unfortunately, without the specialty, you only get what you pay for. And a lot of the time, it's almost like, yes, anyone can go and build a website these days, but can anyone build a website that actually creates sales and makes profit at the end of the day? That's what really it comes down to. So we had to learn the hard way, and basically for us, it was with that particular philosophy. Finally, I guess my inspiration came from a book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. I found that behind every single decision or every single action, especially by the business owners, there was this why. And it was really a matter of uncovering that why in order to understand, the motivation behind why people wanted to do something and understand the value behind that change. So the whole concept of change really started to appear, because at the end of the day, people pay for a change. They have a problem, you make a solution, that change is what they pay for. And the value originates around something like that. This is the foundation for a sales process that I use, which often is referred to as the gap selling approach. However, you get the idea. It's all really about understanding why someone wants to do something, and then understanding, the moment where they are right now, where they want to be, and what's required in order to put that through, and understand the actual price and what's required behind it. So yeah, that's the philosophy behind use and why we do things like that. In terms of our clients, look, we've got quite a portfolio of customers. We've got dentists, we've got online stores, we've got lawyers, we've got a lot of niche businesses. And this is actually what I like to work with specifically, because I find that it doesn't matter how big or small you are. If you focus on a particular niche, it doesn't matter how big the competitor is. You really can outsmart them by doing things more specifically. Like, for example, one of my other businesses is a online store selling smoke alarms. It's called Smoke Alarms for Electric. I'll put a link in the description in case you're looking for that link. And we outrank Bunnings for smoke alarms, and we outrank a lot of other competitors as well. And for us, it's really more about being niche. And the keyword that people are looking for is for electric smoke alarms. So if you can understand that niche and make sure it's inch wide and mile deep, you can really hit that hard. And regardless who you're up against, you can always outsmart them and outplay them. So for a lot of my customers, one of our customers is a company called Salona Law. They've got a direction called Conveyancing Solicitors. In fact, that's the domain they have, conveyancingsolicitors.com.au. And I love that because we're just hitting that conveyancing solicitors niche and make it really specific to the areas where they want the service. And this way we get them quality leads. We make sure that everything works out and there is no time wasting, which actually is another big issue. I find that with a lot of lead generation, where people pay for marketing, a lot of marketing comes through, but the leads are not very good. And as a result, people spend too much time trying to address those leads. Now, this is an issue that unfortunately needs to be tackled from both ends. You need to make sure that the targeting is set up better, but at the same time, there is a qualifying process as well. Because a lot of the time, if someone makes an inquiry about a particular service, they've got the need. Whether they align with the way you sell or they basically are at the point to take your services is another question, and there is a way to qualify them. So yeah, it's really about understanding, I guess, the gap in the market and understand that particular niche to make things work. We've also got a couple of customers that work on specific niches. We've got a company called Icon Group, Queensland, that actually specializes in asbestos removal. So, it's a really small niche that actually enables them to tap into other services. They do roofing, they do renovations, and that for them is the main driver. They're experts in that. They know how to sell that, and from there, everything else is an upsell. It's a pretty straightforward sales process. I love working with businesses like that. One of my other favorite clients is a company called SecureLux. These guys do security screens, and they are the biggest CrimSafe provider in Southeast Queensland. They're an absolute pleasure to work with because they understand sales, they understand growth, and it's a family business that is operated for the last 43 years, if I remember correctly. So it's always good to work with a business that's well established and allow them to sort of grow over time as well. So that's always great. And what I like to do is I like to actually build a relationship with my customers. So for example, with Salona Law, they are the lawyers that I would go to if there's any matter, and vice versa because of that particular relationship. And by the way, my foundation is really built around the whole relationship building as opposed to contracts. I don't really do contracts when it comes to digital marketing. So yeah, I guess this is a bit of a summary about YEWS Solutions, or YEWS as a company. YEWS has been around for a while. We are continuing to expand. We are in Brisbane, Sydney, Gold Coast, and Melbourne. We had a person in New Zealand for a while. We found that the market there is a little bit different, but we do focus mainly on Australian customers, although we do have a few in the US, which could be the next big thing as well. So I guess in terms of business growth, the main thing for me is I want to make sure that I invest in the right people. The right people for me are people who are coachable and people who are, first of all, capable. So when somebody comes in, it's really more about them knowing the foundation so you can actually help them develop. A lot of people I see make the mistake of trying to find somebody who's ideal, who knows everything. And then from there, they find there's a bit of a gap. Now, with a lot of people like that, the retention is typically not the best. And I guess for me, I spend a lot of time on my team culture, and I want to make sure that people that are working for me are growing as well. So that's the philosophy, that's the foundation. If I was to give any tips to any business owners or people looking to start a business, I would say, first of all, make sure you invest in knowledge. Make sure that you read books, attend events and seminars, get a business coach, listen to podcasts. You have to always, live and breathe the actual information that will help you grow. Because a lot of the time I see people who think that, I'm smart, I already know all this stuff, there's nothing else to learn. Believe me, there's something that you can always pick up and learn. I also think that a big foundation for a lot of businesses is the understanding of the win-win situation. So if they sell something or do something, it's about win-win between them and the customer. It's not about them winning and the customer losing or vice versa. I think that's the balance, and that should really be the benchmark, because a lot of the time people get into the business either selling themselves short, undercut everybody, and at the end of the day, that becomes a bit of a disaster within itself. And I think, it's really about, being open to try things and not being afraid to fail. So if you guys are wanting to try a different ads campaign, or potentially, a coaching program, or you want to try a different accountant, or you want to do something different, do it. I think, that's what it's really all about. For me personally, my business is about creating positive change. Well, my business is, I should say, because I run quite a few. For YEWS, creating positive change is really what it's about. It's the best reward for me is to hear when customers can say things like, hey, we've been able to, buy a house. We've been able to, I don't know, get a new car, or send our kids to a school, or go on holidays. That's the sort of reward I like to hear from my customers, because we can say confidently that our results have basically been projected into these wins for the customer. So that's what it is for me. And I think, my motto personally is creating positive change, because I think that whatever you're doing needs to have something positive on the other end. You need to make sure that you're either making someone's life better, more comfortable, or help them grow. That's what it's really all about for me. Anyway, I think it's enough about YEWS. You get the idea. If you enjoyed this episode, guys, or if you picked up something, please comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, and I hope to speak to you soon.